right, so as I mentioned, our next destination is the paint shop. And the paint shop was originally built so the railroad could paint 40 boxcars at a time. And since the railroad is no longer active, we use the paint shop for doing our restoration work on classic railroad cars that are either donated to us or that we find. And that is about a 50-50 split. We get about half the cars are donated to us, and the other half we'll find a caboose or a boxcar out in the middle of a field or out of the woods somewhere. And if we really want it and we want to adopt it, we have to figure out who owns it and how we're going to get it out to the package. There are a lot of nasty financial questions that need to get answered before we adopt another train car onto the property. Alright, so coming up, we're heading to the paint shop, and on a safety note, please keep all of our fingers inside the car as we get inside the paint shop. This will be a tight fit, but I want to make sure everyone leaves with the same number of fingers they arrive with. Now, look at the far left open door over there. You see two classic automobiles owned by the railroad. There's a Model A and a Model T, 1926 and 1929, those two cars. And they were owned by the railroad to pick up VIP passengers at the train station. And amazingly enough, both vehicles are still operational. And we occasionally have a little road rally before you folks arrive on the property. I can't tell you, neither of those cars will ever get the nickname Speedy. Those days are gone. All right. Well, the paint shop. And so, the paint shop, we restored this yellow box car here. And this yellow box car is a wooden refrigeration car from the early 1920s. And the way the car works is that the walls are extra thick and they're insulated with horsehair. Horsehair used to be used here in Savanna for insulation, and many homes had horsehair packed inside the walls. And then on each end of the boxcar are compartments that can be filled with chunks of ice via the roof. So between the two compartments filled with ice and the horsehair insulation, that would actually keep food refrigerated for over 400 miles. And to give you an appreciation for this method of refrigeration, they were still putting ice in that boxcar in 1974, which I find amazing, that it still made financial sense to be dumping ice into that car versus transitioning the car over to electric refrigeration. It says a lot about if it ain't broke. There you go. Now, for all of you can see in the back here, we have a red caboose that we just finished an exterior restoration on. And that red caboose, in the caboose would be the conductor and the brakeman. And the brakeman would be positioned up in the cupola, which is that structure on the top of the caboose. And the brakeman is sitting up in the cupola and he's doing a very specific job. His job is to look back onto the train to see if the train is on fire. Back when there was steam locomotion, you had hot cinders coming out of the smokestack of the locomotive, and then you had oil and grease dripping down from the wheel mechanisms of all the chassis of the railroad cars. Oil and grease that's flammable, and then up until 1933, all boxcars were made out of wood. So you had this great combo platter for a really big fire, and so the brakeman sitting up in the cupola sees that the train is on fire. His job was to climb up onto the roof of the caboose, run across the roofs of the moving train, and disconnect the burning train car from the rest of the train. This was an incredibly dangerous job. The life expectancy of a brakeman on this railroad was 27 years old. There was no pension plan for the brakeman because nobody made it to 30. Very scary. Now, about 14 years ago, this car on my left was donated to us, And when we got the car, it was sagging very dramatically in the middle of the car. And we started ripping the car apart, and we discovered that the car was built in 1911. We also discovered why the car was sagging very dramatically in the middle of the car, and that was because the car was made with a wooden chassis. And that actually created more questions than it answered, because by 1911, all the chassis on railroad cars should have been metal. And this thing has a wooden chassis. So we're like, what is going on with this car? And so through the diligent research of one of our staff members, we discovered that the car was built in 1911, but it was built as a replica of an 1880 passenger car. And amazingly enough, about 6 months ago, we found the blueprints for the 1880 passenger car. So we're bringing it back to 1880. It's going to be a labor of love, but it's going to be a beautiful car when we're done. We've rebuilt both ends of the car and also repaired the roof, so it's now watertight. But we still have a long way to go. But it's getting restored, which is exciting. Now, we did get the car to pay for a little bit of its time here. We leased the car out to the Walt Disney Corporation, came here about 2 years ago, to shoot their remake of Lady and the Tramp. And as you saw the new version on Disney Plus, this is the old train car the Tramp lives on at the beginning of the show. And as I mentioned earlier, we try to get Hollywood to come here and shoot their films, and so that we can separate them from their money. It's a very good system. Now, more recently, they were actually shooting a movie downstairs. That's right. We're on the second floor of this building, and down below were the offices for the executives of the railroad. Now, it's just my dark sense of humor, but I find it really wonderful that they put management in the basement. There is a little bit of justice in this world. All right? But, but more recently, Clint Eastwood was shooting a vampire movie about 6 weeks ago downstairs. And that's probably our most recent film shoot. But Mr. Eastwood was here. And if you saw the film Georia with Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman, over half the movie was shot right on this piece of property. Back on the turntable, which will get us back to the original piece of track where you folks got on. That's what's coming. Now, when you folks bought a ticket to this place, probably expecting to see lots of trains. Yes, we have lots of trains all over the place. But what you may not have known is that this site is the largest collection of pre-Civil War buildings on this continent. If you go to Gettysburg, they strut around like they own the planet up there, and they're like, yeah, we have 3 antebellum buildings. Count them, 3. It's like, how nice for you that you have 3 buildings. That's so great for you. We have 4.5 acres of buildings. This entire site is pre-Civil War. There's nothing else like this anywhere else in the country. Pretty incredible.